Good morning guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope this video is clear and you guys can see me. There's a lot going on. I'm in the process of moving and there's some hiccup with that. If you want to know more information about me moving to a new place, I'll put a link to my personal YouTube down below so you guys can see the mess that is. There's a rooster that has been crowing like forever. Like it's morning already. We get it. It won't stop crowing. So I have in my hand some apple cider vinegar diluted with water. I'm going to be looking down a lot because I have notes. My phone is dead, so I'm using an old tablet to keep track of this video. As you guys know, Diddy trial began on Monday. Today is Wednesday, the third day of his trial. So I've been keeping up the last 2 days of his trial, and I want to actually talk about my takeaway from the trial so far, especially addressing his defense attorney. I think her name is Teny Geragos, claims that Diddy and Cassie relationship was a very loving relationship that had some toxic attributes, but for the most part he loved her. So we're going to get into that in this video because I want to debunk all of the things that she said. I probably won't quote the things she said because I don't have access to all of the arguments that she made, but I want to use this video to debunk the idea that Diddy loved Cassie. So let's get into the video. Alright guys, on March 12th, Monday, the trial of Sean John Combs began. If you guys don't know who Sean John Combs is, he's a music executive amongst other things, and his trial okay, how do I say this? He's on trial. Okay, he's on trial for sex trafficking and money laundering. If you guys don't know what money laundering is, it's when you create a fake legal company to hide the activities of an illegal enterprise or operation. So those are some of the reasons he's on trial for. I'm sure there's more, but those are the main reasons: sex trafficking and RICO. So we're going to get into why I believe that his defense is trying to paint his relationship with Cassie as a loving relationship instead of what it really was, a business relationship where he was pimping her out instead of actually promoting and developing her career as a musician. Oh, I also want to state that Cassie Ventura, his ex-girlfriend, went on to get married to a man named Alex Fine, and she's currently pregnant with her third child. And the good thing about the whole situation is that she never had a child for Diddy, because it would have been very difficult for her to have filed this lawsuit against him and to be going on trial against him if she had been one of the mothers of his children. So thank goodness for small miracles that she did not have any child by Diddy. And Diddy, I know he's kicking himself in the ass. He's kicking himself for not getting her pregnant because that was his downfall. He made that big mistake of not making her be one of his baby mamas. And because of that situation, it was easier for her to escape him permanently without having any link to him. Alright guys, I just wanted to point that out. Alright guys, so one of the defense that Diddy's lawyers, especially the one that had the opening statement, Teny Geragos, wanted to portray was that Diddy and Cassie were in a loving relationship that can sometimes be toxic. That was what they wanted to portray. But they also wanted to portray that Cassie had as much power in this relationship as Diddy. So the first thing we're going to do is define what love is. When you look in the dictionary, it has a very simple definition for love that still confuses people to this day. The dictionary says that love is a strong feeling that you have towards someone, which is very confusing because love is more powerful and more is more complicated. Not complicated, what's the word I want to use? It's more than what the dictionary is saying. So I know there's some people who might not believe God, they might be atheists, but I can promise you even atheists will be able to understand the definition of love through the Bible, because we know that God, for people who believe in God, believe that God created love. God created people in his image, and God is love. So we're going to look at 1 Corinthians 13 to define love, because not only did God give us the definition of love, he gave us the definition of what love is not, because there's some people out there that will want to corrupt love and turn it into what they believe love is, but he was very clear on what love is and what love is not. So let's all turn our Bibles to 1 Corinthians 13 to see what the definition of love is and what love is not. All right, guys, let's do that. I'll wait for you guys to turn your Bibles. All right, but don't worry, I'm not going to be preaching in this video. All right, guys, the first definition of love is that love is patience. Let's see how Diddy was impatient when it related to his relationship with Cassie. When Diddy met Cassie, she was very young, very naive. He was 17 years older than her, more advanced in maturity, age. He was more worldly, he was more experienced. Instead of Diddy to have patience and help Cassie develop in her career, in her ambition, in her character so she can mature, he quickly took advantage of her, exploited her, and used her. And this is a theme with Diddy when it comes to a lot of his artists that he signs to his record deal. He'll find artists that are not well developed in their craft, and then he'll take advantage of them, use them, and then later on discard them. So he was very impatient with Cassie. He took advantage of her youth, her naivety, and her innocence. So we already know that love is patient, and Diddy was not patient. Love is kind, okay? So we'll examine how Diddy was unkind to Cassie within their relationship. I am pretty sure there are many examples of Diddy being unkind to Cassie, from abusing her, from verbally, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, financially. But we're going to talk about 2 examples that I heard of Diddy being unkind to her that stuck out in my mind. One of those examples is Diddy and Cassie was at an industry event or party. I don't know if it was his party or someone else's party, with other artists and colleagues. And while there, Diddy saw a woman who had half of her hair shaven off to the side. So half of her hair was, long, and the rest was shaven off. And without asking Cassie's opinion on the style, if she liked the style, if she would be willing to do it, he forced her and imposed on her his, desire for her to shave half of her hair. And there's rumors that she cried because of that incident, because I'm sure it wasn't a style that she wanted or felt comfortable with, but it was a very unkind thing of him to force her to shave off the side of her hair. Women, for some women, their hair is their vanity, is their pride, is their, I don't know how to say it, is their beauty. So for him to force her to do something like that without consenting her or even getting confirmation. Of course, she had to do it by force, whether she wanted to or not. So people can say, oh, she did it because she wanted to. But no, it was said that he forced her to do it. There's even a witness that accounted for this and then, backtrack what he said. But everybody heard about that issue. Another example that stood out in my mind of Diddy being unkind to Cassie is he made her get plastic surgery to get a breast enhancement, and for whatever reason he did not like the result of that surgery, and he felt that the breasts were too big. Instead of him allowing her body to heal and rest, he tried to force the doctor to remove those breast implants and to do a new surgery. So for me, that is kind of mind-blowing, and it boggles my mind that Diddy will force Cassie to get major surgery, and without even allowing her body to rest to the first surgery, try to force her to get a second surgery. And thank goodness the doctor refused, because it was very deadly to her health, and it clearly shows that Diddy had no regard for her well-being and for her health by trying to force her to get a consecutive surgery back to back just because he did not like the results of the first surgery. So those are two examples of Diddy being unkind to Cassie. And you know, if love is kind and Diddy is unkind, what does that say? He doesn't love her. All right, so in this definition, the Bible is telling us, let's not say the Bible, God is telling us what love is not. God says that love is not envious, or another word for envious would be jealous. Love is not jealous. And we know throughout this relationship, Diddy was very, very jealous of not just Cassie when she got attention, but jealous of men that paid attention to her. Even though he was forcing her to engage in sexual activities with men, but for her to have any relationship with men, whether friendship or romantic, that did not involve him, he would get very jealous and act out. There's some examples that I will give you. The first one is Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi was an artist as well, I believe a musician. I don't know if he was signed to Bad Boy or Diddy. I'm sure he was involved in freak-offs as well. That's my assumption, even though nobody has said anything. But seeing how he's moved in the past years, I wouldn't be surprised. So I believe the time that Cassie had a romantic relationship with Kid Cudi was probably when her and Diddy weren't seeing eye to eye and was on a break. Nobody's mentioning that because they would be breaking up and getting back together. So I'm pretty sure at this time when Cassie was seeing Kid Cudi, her and Diddy probably had a disagreement, were taking a break, and so she started dating Kid Cudi. Well, Diddy was not happy with that, and he got some people to go with him to Kid Cudi's house, whether to murder Kid Cudi, whether to threaten him, whatever the reason it was. It didn't happen because Kid Cudi was not home at the time. But Diddy also stated that he wanted to kill Kid Cudi, and even stated that he will blow up Kid Cudi's car, which he ended up doing. And they have evidence showing that Diddy threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car, and he was able to do that. So that's one example of Diddy being jealous. Another example is Wale. Even though Wale has backtracked or has denied this happened, there's multiple sources that claim that Wale was in a studio with Cassie, maybe recording a single, an album. We don't know. But for whatever reason, Diddy burst into that studio and hung Wale off a balcony of a very tall building, I believe. I don't know if it was a studio, but he threatened him and he hung him off a building for being in the studio with Cassie. I don't know if he wasn't supposed to be recording with Cassie. I don't know if other people were supposed to be there and they were alone, if they were flirting, getting close and comfortable, and someone snitched and told Diddy, and that's why he showed up there and hung Wale off a balcony of a studio, well, a window of a studio. And then there's a new rumor that I've never heard, but it's come out during trial, that Michael B. Jordan was interested in Cassie. And I don't know if this was the time when Diddy and Cassie were still together or it was after they broke up, but he was interested in her, and Diddy threatened him as well. So for Diddy, it was, no one can have her but me. So he was a very jealous person, and we know that love is not jealous and love is not envious. So there you go. Those are 3 examples of Diddy not showing love to Cassie in their relationship. All right, the next one is love is not proud. And everybody who knows Diddy and have been around Diddy, they know how very proud Diddy is. How very conceited, how very vain, how very full of himself. Some people might even go as far as to call him a narcissist. I think he's that and more. So I feel like in the relationship, Diddy felt that because he was a music executive, he had all this money, he had all this fame, that Cassie should be worshiping the ground he walks on, and she should just be honored to have been his side chick, mistress, or be in any form of relationship with him, whether signed to his deal or being his girlfriend. And he used that to exploit her. I want to read what I wrote here because I think it's very I don't know the word. I just want to read it out. Usually I'll just say what is on my mind, but I think it's very important that I read it word for word. I said he felt that because he was a music executive, she would be honored to be in his presence and get undivided attention from him. I'm reading it and I still can't even say the words. Even if it included exploitation, physical, sexual, mental, spiritual, and financial abuse, because we know he was doing all of that to her, withholding money, withholding access, resources from her. He gaslit her into thinking he was going to make her a star by making her sign a bogus 10-album record deal when he had no intention of making her into a musical star. And he had every intention of selling her body for entertainment to powerful figures who get off on the sick depravity that he also gets off. My reading wasn't that great, even though I'm the one that wrote it. But you guys understand what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that Diddy was so proud that he felt Cassie or anyone that is in his presence should be honored to be around him. That he is so, I don't know the word to say it, that he put himself in such a high esteem and on such a high pedestal that he just looked down on people and felt that everyone was inferior to him. He had this superiority complex that anyone that was around him, he felt that they should be worshiping him and that he can use and exploit them to his benefit and whatever his agenda was. All right. Okay, I might start reading more from the tablet, so I'll probably be looking down more. So the next definition of love is also what love is not, and that is love is not arrogant. Again, it defines Diddy. So we're talking about love. Diddy has coined himself as brother love, but everything that love is, Diddy is not. Everything that love is not, Diddy is. So it's very ironic that he coined himself as brother love when he lacks love. All right, so love is arrogant. Diddy thought because of who he was, he could do anything that he wants and get away with it. That includes signing artists, killing them in order to steal the publishing. Let's put in quotation, allegedly killing them off in order to steal the publishing. We know Tupac, we know Biggie. Some people would say he wasn't signed to Tupac, but in the beginning of Tupac's relationship, he was signed to Bad Boy. And he had a relationship with Diddy. We don't know what type of relationship. Some people say it's romantic, but who knows? If they had any type of relationship that was romantic, I'm pretty sure that Diddy forced him in order to give him that record deal. Having people that he didn't like or who tried to expose him murder. There are a lot of people that came out to expose Diddy on the things that he was doing, and before you know it, they were killed. For one example, Kim Porter, his ex-wife, wanted to expose him. She ended up dying under mysterious circumstances. His bodyguard wanted to expose him, and recently he died under the same mysterious circumstances. And there's plenty more. I'm sure people can put a list of all of the bodies that Diddy collected. He also puts artists in conservatorship. I think it's conservatorships. For example, who did he put? He put some people. Let me not go into that because that has nothing to do with this case. But there's rumors that Diddy has management, secret management, and there's some celebrities under conservatorships, and it has something to do with Diddy. Britney Spears. All right, but that's totally a different topic that has nothing to do with Diddy. Williams. That one has more to do with Diddy. He sex trafficked his artists, which include Cassie, blackmailing people to do whatever he wanted by putting them in compromising situation and other heinous acts. So I don't know if you guys understood what I was saying because of how badly I read my notes, but we're talking about how arrogant Diddy is by thinking he can do anything he wants to people and get away with it by causing people to die under his leadership. There's even rumors about what's his name, Nipsey Russell, that he was linked to Diddy as well, causing his artists to be sex trafficked and then, you know, exploiting them because they're under his power. So that was an arrogant thing. He feels like nobody can touch him. He's above the law, which we're now seeing that he's not above the law, and hopefully he'll get the justice that he deserves. Okay, the next definition of love is not rude. We know that Diddy is a very rude person. He talks to people anyhow he wants. He treats people anyhow he wants. We've already touched on how unkind he was to her, and that could also relate to rudeness as well. He called her out of her name, like bitches and other things, and I will have to find quotes of things that he said to her that probably messed up her mental health, where she was scared of him threatening her, blackmailing her, was very rude. The way he treated her, you know, anytime she'll say something that he didn't like, he'll just slap her upside her head. He'll abuse her. He's just a very rude person in how he talks to people. People saw on Making the Band how very rude he was to the contestants that were auditioning to be in his band. He's known to be a very rude person in general, very disrespectful. So imagine Cassie, what she had to put up with for 10 years when Diddy was controlling her and pretending to manage her career and controlling her life. So, you know, there's a lot of example of him being unkind to her, which is also the same as being rude to her, probably talking to her in a very disrespectful way. So love is not rude, and Diddy is a very rude person in general. So not just rude to Cassie, but rude to everyone that is around him. So there you go. Okay, love is not selfish. Love is not selfish. So Diddy did not care about Cassie's wants or needs. Their relationship was solely based on his wants and his desire. The reason why she was with him was because of a record deal. At least that's what it was supposed to be in the beginning. Not only did he sabotage her goal for success, he destroyed it, making it difficult for her to achieve her dreams. He waved a golden carrot in front of her face under the disguise of a 10-album deal, only to string her along under false pretenses. making her to continue to believe that he was helping to develop her talent when he had no plans to make her a successful artist. Love is not selfish. He didn't want Kathy to become a powerful or successful artist because he knew that if that happened, she would no longer need him. He would no longer be able to control her. So he'll gaslight her, he'll lie to her, he'll deceive her and make her think that he's going to develop her talent and make her into this successful musician where he never had any intention of doing that. And he's done that to other artists under his fold, where he'll pick artists that are not as talented and he will lie to them and give them bogus music deals, knowing that he's not going to fulfill that contract. And it's been said that there's a lot of artists that he has not paid them their royalty, he has not paid them the money for their albums and their talent. So he's known to be a very selfish, very frugal, very cheap person. All right, this one is a big one because it encapsulates Diddy. Love is not angry. Love is not angry. Everyone saw that videotape in that hotel room where Diddy was physically abusing Cassie, was dragging her up and down a hallway, was kicking her. Everybody saw that video, and it's lucky that we saw that video. What about the videos that we don't see? What about the times we don't see him abusing her? She said that he frequently abused her, would give her black eyes, red eyes, bloody lips, bruises on her face, where she'll have to go and hide out and recover before he does it over again. So here I say everyone saw the hotel tape where he was violating her, and this hotel tape that we saw where he physically abused her, it was after sexually violating her. It was after a freak off. So not only did he violate her sexually, he went on to violate her physically. We only got to see the tape, but it was not the first time that Diddy put his hands on her or the last time he put his hands on her. What about the times we didn't see? Times when people in their mutual circle saw him abuse her but turned a blind eye. Teny Geragos said that yes, there are times when Diddy got jealous, and because he got jealous, she kind of downplayed the abuse that Diddy dealt Cassie. He got jealous and maybe he put his hands on her in a wrong way. I don't have the quotes to paraphrase what she said, but I felt like she was gaslighting the people in the court, the jurors, the press, by making it seem like Diddy didn't frequently abuse her and it was only because of jealousy and because of love, of passion, a love of passion or passion love or whatever kind of feelings people in relationship get that cause them to behave out of character. But I don't think that Diddy was behaving out of character. I think this was his normal, not just to Cassie, but everyone in his life. All right, guys. So the next one is love is not evil. When a person loves you, they do not expose you to harm. Diddy had sex workers who were strangers to Cassie urinate in her mouth. He had her engage in activities with strange men without using protection, exposing her to diseases, putting her life in jeopardy. Who knows if they did thorough sex STD tests with these sex workers before engaging in sexual acts. All these different fluids that were exchanged. Who knows if he even took the time, because we know he's a very rash person, very impatient. I don't even know if he cared. I don't think he practiced responsible sex activities. I think he did not care. It's, rumored that he has STDs, but this is not what the video is about. So it's possible that if he had STDs, he wanted to spread it and share it with everyone in his circle so that he wouldn't be the only one to have it. So that he can say, I have it, so you have it too. So what? He was that kind of person, very irresponsible, very selfish, only caring about himself. So love is not evil, and everybody knows by now that that Diddy is a very evil person. His actions make him evil. All right, so love is not sinful. There are going to be people who are not religious. They're going to say, what is the definition of sinful? What might be a sin to you might not be a sin to another person. That is definitely true. Everybody has different definitions and idea of what sin is. People will argue what sin is. Maybe they will say that, they may say like Teny Geragos, that Diddy and Cassie, sex life is nobody's business and it's between them. What about the drugs that were put in beverages? The baby oil that was given to recipients without their knowledge? What about the serial rape charges? Diddy was constantly raping people who were around him. He was a serial rapist. Is that not sinful? Should enforcing your partner to consume drugs, engage in daily sexual activities with strangers be considered sinful? Notice I said forcing. Isn't rape sinful? Who can argue that a rapist is not a sinner? Who can argue that rape is not sinful? These are actions that Diddy took, and people, victims, came out and confessed and accused him of. He forced people to take drugs, most times not unaware, without their consent and knowledge. He forced people to engage in sexual activities while they were under the influence, without consent. Aren't those actions sinful? Love is not sinful. And we know that Diddy is a very sinful person. Alright guys, I hope you guys are not getting tired of this video, because it does seem like it's long and people might not want to stay through to the end to find out all of the definitions of love. But people who have been using the simple dictionary to figure out what love is and they're still confused, they might stay and watch the rest of this video. People who want to see Teny Geragos theory of Diddy's love debunked might sit and watch this video. Having said all of that, let's continue. Alright, love is true. Alright, Diddy has been living a lie his whole life. He lied to Cassie that he loved her and was going to help develop her music career by having her ink a 10-album deal, only for her to only complete one album in the 10 years that they were together. He did none of that. He hid her from his public girlfriend, Kim Porter, for years. Where's the truth in that? He made the public think he was a straight homosexual to lure men into sexual relationships with him, using women like Cassie, knowing all the while that he was a flaming hot Cheeto. He wasn't even honest with himself, which is pathetic. Love is supposed to be true. So if you're operating in true love, you'll be honest with the people around you. He wouldn't have lied to Kim Porter. He wouldn't have lied to Cassie. He wouldn't have lied to the public about his sexual orientation. Some people would say it's none of our business, but yet he was pretending to be someone he wasn't. He was living a lie, living a double life, and it was a very dangerous lie that he was living. So love is supposed to be true, and Diddy was a liar, or is a liar. Let's talk about present. He's currently lying, so he's a liar. Love is strong. Okay, love is strong. People who are weak and insecure bully and abuse people who are weaker than them. Diddy spent his youth feeling inferior to others because there were rumors that he was being bullied as a youth. So when he got a taste of power, he decided to be even worse than his bullies. So he became a monster. So Diddy ended up being the bully, being the abuser, after suffering in his youth. So instead of him learning how not to be like the bullies that tormented him in his youth, he became an even bigger bully than those people by bullying people who he deemed as weaker than him because of his insecurities. Love is strong, but bullies are usually weak. Diddy is a very weak individual who uses money and uses fame to appear to be stronger than he is. Love is hopeful. Diddy spent 10 years giving Cassie false hope. He made her think he cared about her. Maybe even gaslit her to think that one day she would be his only woman and that maybe he'll marry her and have children with her. When he allegedly killed off his on and off again baby mama Kim Porter, we have to say allegedly because it hasn't been proven in court, but that was the wake-up call that Cassie needed to make an escape. She probably realized that it could one day be her. Diddy had a habit of leaving dead bodies behind. Who's to say she wasn't next? So he used her hope of one day being his only girlfriend to string her along, to exploit her, to abuse her, to take advantage of her. Love is hopeful, but Diddy gave her false hope. Love is faithful. Diddy is known to be a serial cheater. Cassie knew what she was getting into when she consented to being Diddy's sidekick. So we'll say for that one, it was her that made that decision. So she cannot say, oh, she didn't know. She knew that Diddy had a girlfriend, Kim Porter, but she still got into a relationship with him. However, we cannot say Diddy was so overcome with love that he had to have Cassie. This wasn't a love story. It wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't a happy ending. This was a man who used multiple women at the same time, fed them lies, manipulated them into believing that he loved and cared about them more than the other girls that he was dealing with. Diddy was pimping out women, including Cassie, and making them feel like they were the most important to him. So even though he was a serial cheater, he was making all these women that he was cheating with feel like they were the main woman in his life. We have a situation where there's a girl named Gina. She got into a social media fight with Young Miami because at the time Diddy was parading Young Miami to the public, but privately he was gaslighting Gina, making her think that he loved her more than Young Miami and that he was just using Young Miami, which is what led to their public social media fights. He was telling Young Miami one thing and telling Gina another thing. So each girl thought that they were his main one. So that's why they were fighting each other. So he's not a faithful person, but he'll be making these women think that he's faithful to them and that everything else is just smokes and mirror. So love is supposed to be faithful, but Diddy was never faithful to anyone. Again, if you guys are watching this video is a debunk of Teny Geragos Theory of Diddy loving Cassie and that their relationship was a loving relationship, which we know it was not. So we're down to the last two definitions of love. All right, so love lasts. All right, Diddy was unable to form long-term relationships that did not involve coercion, deceit, manipulation, or force. Throughout his relationship, he was lying to all these people to get them to be in relationship with him. Therefore, most of his relationship, if not all, were fake. Some ended in death, resentment, or lawsuits. Diddy not only screwed up Cassie's life, but the majority of the artists that he signed on his label, His inability to love anyone or to be loved by anyone. That's why he has to pay men and women to pretend to love him and to be loyal to him. When the money runs out, so will the relationship. So Diddy's relationships cannot last because Diddy is incapable of love. Even though he coined himself as Brother Love, Diddy does not have a concept of what love is. He doesn't have the ability to love anyone, and I don't even think he has the ability to even love himself. Alright, let's go to the last definition of what love is. Alright guys, we're down to the end. I know you guys are happy because this video might actually be long. I hope it's not boring, at least. You know, for people who are confused about what love is, this video is giving you a detailed definition of love. So anytime you're in a relationship and someone says they love you, use these 16 definitions of love to be able to match up to see if that person that is loving you is showing you what love is and what love is not. That way you'll be able to be in good relationships with people in your life because you'll be able to know if they love you or not. Alright, so the last one is love never fails. Clearly, we know Diddy is incapable of love. He would have to have the ability to love for it to last. I would say I do not think Diddy has ever experienced love growing up, and that plays a part in who he became as an adult. It does not, however, excuse his behaviors. His mother is currently right now acting as a doting mother, enabling his actions and saying he's innocent when she knows he's not, because he's giving her all of the fame, the jewelry, the money. So now she's, behaving the way she did when he was young, when it was time for her to nurture him. There's even a story about how bullies beat him up, and when he ran home, the mother locked him out of the house and said that he was not allowed to come back in until he went and fought the bullies and won or something of another. There was a story about that. That's not how you raise a well-rounded person, by forcing them to be in an uncomfortable situation that can endanger and harm them, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. She helped create the demon that Diddy has become. He did not do it alone. He had a lot of help. That is why he was able to get away with it for a long time. Diddy is surrounded by enablers, and that's why he was able to get away with all of these things that he did. There were people around him that because he was giving them money, he was giving them fame, they helped him to orchestrate this large sex trafficking ring. They also help him to abuse Cassie, whether themselves participated or looked the other way and didn't come to her aid. But those same people, where are they now when he's in court? What do they have to say for themselves? Alright, in conclusion, Teny Geragos claims that Diddy and Cassie were in a loving relationship, that he would sometimes get jealous and reluctantly put his hands on her. I'm paraphrasing. That's the notion and the ideas I got from what she was saying in her opening statements. Like he didn't want to abuse her, but he just couldn't control himself because of the drugs, because he was out of his mind with jealousy, etc. Just making excuses for this grown man's actions. That is what I got from her opening statements. That Diddy didn't really want to abuse Cassie. However, what we learn from breaking down the meaning of love is that brother love is incapable of love. Therefore, rendering Teny Geragos' argument useless. Let's hope that Teny Geragos experienced the kind of love that she claimed Diddy had for Cassie. Let's all say back to sender, so that one day Teny Geragos can experience the same love that Diddy dealt Cassie. Let's go a step further to say that Diddy should be the one to show Teny Geragos that same love he showed Cassie and Little Rod while he was working for him in an album when he was under scrutiny for allegedly having Kim Porter murdered. We know Diddy likes to cross boundaries with his employees. He doesn't understand the concept of boundaries. He thinks all men and women, and maybe even animals, are at his sexual disposal. He's worse than that booty bandit that we heard about years ago on the Boondocks. He's Lucifer in human form. Good luck dancing with the devil, Teny Geragos. At least one of your colleagues was cohorting with him for years. Mark Ruffafino, or whatever his name is. I can't pronounce his last name, but his first name is Mark. We know he's been working with Diddy for years, and there's even stories of him participating in freak-offs. But because the victim is not on the stand, she's not a witness, we cannot confirm that. They might not even come to your aid if there was an emergency. But let's hope that Daddy Darius will be able to come to your aid because he's thrown you to the wolves. So that's the conclusion of my debunking Teny Geragos theory that Diddy loved Cassie and that their relationship was a loving relationship, because there's no way, if we look at the definition of what love is, that we can say that they were in a loving relationship. But we can say that they were in a hateful relationship if we look at what love is not. We know that the opposite of love is indifference, but in this case, we're going to use hate. We'll go as far as to say that Diddy hated Cassie. That's the reason why he abused her, used her, he exploited her, and took advantage of her. He didn't love Cassie. Diddy hated Cassie. Alright guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I don't know if I'm going to do a lot of videos on Diddy or this trial, but if there's something that comes up that I think that, might make a great video, I will do that as well. I'll do other videos as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if you guys think different from me, if you guys agree with Teny Geragos that Diddy loved Cassie, and let me know why you agreed with her, and if you agree with me that Diddy did not love Cassie or is enabled to love anyone in his life. Comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, bye.